Välkommen alla sammen! Welcome to the channel where we look at little bits of Assassin's Creed Valhalla gameplay footage, and I give you a bonus historical info so you can learn while you play. And today we're looking at this little mission where you meet this nun who has just killed a couple pagans, and you fight her, and this area is filled with some quite valuable treasure here. So follow along, and I'll give you some information in the meantime. So today I'm going to speak about the Christianization of England. We read a lot of stories and in TV shows and movies about the Viking contact with the Anglo-Saxons, and it depicts them as just a bunch of wimpy little Bible thumpers that bent over and accepted Christianity and super religious. They accepted it as soon as it was forced upon them, and that is absolute garbage. Like all the other Germanic peoples, the Anglo-Saxons fought their ass off and resisted Christianity for a long time. It would have taken hundreds of years to completely Christianize them, and today I'm just going to be sharing with you a couple stories that helps prove this. So first of all, it's important to realize the history of religion in England. In the early 300s, when Rome started to accept Christianity under the Emperor Constantine, it didn't mean all of Rome converted right at that time, but a large portion of the population would have been Christian. But England was under control of Rome at this time, and a big portion of the people in England would have also converted at that time. But before this, the people living there for hundreds or even thousands of years were Celtic. They were worshipping the Celtic gods. So some of them would have accepted Christianity when Rome did, but that would not have lasted very long, because less than 100 years later, Rome lost control of Britain when the Western Roman Empire fell. And that's when we see this Anglo-Saxon migration happening. Pagans, Germanic pagans coming from Denmark, northern Germany area. They were worshipping Thor and Odin and all the Norse gods. These were the Anglo-Saxons. So for a few hundred years there, before Christianity came in again in the 500s and 600s, the Anglo-Saxons would have been pagan, worshipping the Germanic gods. So here's one story. We look at one example of the church trying to baptize children after birth, and their pagan parents resisted this very violently many times. They even killed or abandoned their children sometimes instead of letting their children be baptized. So of course that's not a good thing to do, but it just shows how passionate the Anglo-Saxon pagans were about their native religion. Another one is a story of when a woman who had two children, and one of her children died and the other one lived, but she brought the dead child in order to be baptized to try to trick the bishop, so her living one wouldn't have to be baptized. So both of these stories come from just before the year 700, so Christianity was still not accepted at this time. One more story. Dated to the early 600s. It was Gregory the Great, one of the popes, and he was telling people, do not let people sacrifice animals to the devil, but let them slaughter animals for their own food to the praise of God. And he also writes about how the religious authorities were supposed to get people to celebrate their feasts and pagan holidays on a day that was a Christian holy day. So this is a typical example of the church trying to just slightly change something that was pagan, but it was still a pagan ritual, but they made it Christian. Also, we find a lot of works about church councils condemning the pagan practice of worshipping trees, rocks, springs, and other holy places. This happened from the 500s all the way to the 1000s. So definitely they did not accept Christianity when they first came in. So those are just a few stories, guys. I'll go into the Christianization of the Anglo-Saxons in a lot more detail in other video, but this video was just to point out that the Anglo-Saxon people absolutely did not just roll over and accept Christianity like many people believe. They resisted for many hundreds of years, and some pagan traditions never died out. I did a longer video about this on my other channel where I speak about the exact sources of where these come from, and I list them. If you guys want to check those out, that link is in the description below. So that's about it for today. Vi ses nästa gång.